Hi everybody, it's Christina from Pretty Distressed. In today's video, I am going to show you how we built a canopy bed from scratch for my daughter's room. This is a project that I did a couple years ago, but not a lot of you were here, so I don't think a lot of people saw it, and it's one of my favorite videos. So I'm going to show you the process and give you some updates along the way. So if you want to see this makeover, just keep watching. So I knew I wanted to do a canopy bed. I've had my eye on this one from Restoration Hardware, but you guys know me, I'm not going to spend this much money on a bed. I'm going to try to dupe it myself. So I went to Pinterest and Google to see if I could find any DIY plans for building a canopy bed. And the ones that I liked the most that I found were from Anna White. If you guys have never visited her site or heard about her, she is a building guru and she has tons of free plans up on her website. So we decided to tackle her canopy bed. We got our lumber from Home Depot. It was mostly pine and common board, and we bought a Craig jig as well to do the pocket holes for the bed build. Okay, first update. Craig has a much better system for you to get now. This is the 720 Pro. I have not opened this yet or got to use it, but I have seen many people use it. It's a lot more user-friendly and it's gonna be a lot easier than the one that I'm using in this video. These plans are amazing and really easy to follow. So I'm not going to give you a step-by-step of each process because you can print these out for yourself. I'm just going to show you how we did it. Here is my husband. I know you guys have seen him before when he built bunk beds and did the shiplap on our fireplace. Here he's just making all the cuts from the cut list, and while he was cutting I was just taking the boards and sanding them with my orbital sander. I'm using a 150 pad and just kind of smoothing out if there's any gouges or stuff. Like I said earlier, we tried to just pick common board and stuff that was really affordable at Home Depot, so I was just smoothing out any gouges or imperfections in the wood. So another update for you. This is before I was comfortable using power tools. As you will see, my husband did a lot of the cutting and a lot of the building, and I did the sanding and the painting. But now I am so much more familiar with power tools, you guys, and you should not be scared of them. This is definitely something you can attempt on your own. After we made all the cuts, he started drilling in the pocket holes, and this is just really gonna aid in the construction to have a solid bed with hidden holes. There's a little bit of a learning curve with this jig, but I know Craig has a YouTube channel if you want any tips or tricks on how to use this thing. So this is the bed that we're replacing today. It used to be a crib and we got it off of Craigslist for really cheap, I think like 50 bucks or something, and the box spring's broken on it, so it was just time to change it up, and this was a great opportunity to get all those Legos and trash off the floor. We assembled the headboard portion outside and I did film that, but it was just all our backsides, so I didn't think that you wanted to see that, but we brought that inside and then assembled the rest of the bed frame in the room. Craig Tools makes their own screws to use with these pocket holes. You can use regular screws, but we did go ahead and buy those because they recommend them and that they'll give you a stronger hold. We used a miter saw to make all our cuts, but the plans actually only call for a circular saw, so if that's all you have, you'll be in good shape. The plans also called for taking that circular saw and kind of shaving down the posts a little bit, I think just to give them some interest and shape. I wanted mine to be boxy like the Restoration Hardware one that I showed you, so we took that part out of the plans. As you can see, assembling the bed was definitely a two-person job. But everything I have showed you actually took place in one day. We got everything assembled. We did have a little bit of problem on the last two pieces on the canopy. Oh no. Shoot, it went through. But not to worry, the next day we went to Home Depot and got two new pieces, and then this time put them on correctly. The last step of the build was to get the cleats and slats on that are gonna actually hold and house the mattress. And we had a ton of scrap wood in our garage from other projects. And so while these are all different sizes, they are the same width. So they're all even and level across. Once the build was complete, my husband walked on top of these just to make sure they were going to support weight, and we even tested the mattress on there too to make sure that it fit. So I just grabbed a little bit of wood filler to fill in all those holes we made with the screws, and the Craig jig actually came with these cool little inserts you can see there. They're kind of like pre-cut dowels that you put in there to fill up the hole, which is really nice. And then I'm just taking a little bit of that wood filler to fill the remainder of that hole. I'm just using my finger to put this on, but if you don't want to touch it, you can use a putty knife to do this. So I filled up all the holes that you could see, and then once they dry, I just went back in with a medium grit sandpaper, a 150, and a tack cloth, and made it real nice and smooth and wiped away all that dust. Next up is painting, and I'm going to be using Dixie Belle's dried sage today. I'm actually going to make a wash of this paint, and it's going to act a little bit more like a stain versus a true paint. So to do that, I'm putting 4 ounces of paint in my spaghetti jar here, and then I'm adding the same amount of water. So I'm doing a 1-to-1 ratio, and I love using containers like this because A, I'm reusing it, and B, it has measurements on the side, so it makes it really easy to make sure that I'm doing the same amount of paint if I need to mix up more. For this wash technique, you're going to want a pair of gloves. Any type of paintbrush will do. I'm using a chip brush and some wiping rags. I work in 2 to 3 foot sections at a time. Your paint is going to be really watery and drippy, so make sure that you have some covering down, some drop cloths down to protect your flooring. I'm painting it on in the direction of the grain, and once you get your little section done, you're gonna take your clean wiping cloth and just wipe back the paint, and this is gonna make the grain come through and make it look a lot more like a stain versus a thick coat of paint on there. The rags I'm using are those Intex rags that I talk about, I think, in almost every video. I love them because they're great for staining and painting and waxing, so I can get a lot of use out of them, and they really absorb that paint. They're not gonna just push it around, and that's what you're looking for. So I will link those down below so you can see them. Let's talk about why I selected doing a paint wash versus a stain. The reason is that we got all different kinds of wood, and there were some imperfections in the wood. This is a DIY project, so I wanted it to be affordable. So common board is the easiest type of wood and the cheapest wood to find and buy. At Home Depot, I think it's typically gonna be pine. That's what we've found. And we spent about $100 on our lumber. We did have some scrap pieces for the slats, so that saved us a little bit. Using the paint here is gonna make it the coloring look uniform across all these different types of wood, but I did pick a color that kind of looks like a stain that's natural. It's like a taupe with a green undertone, so I'm kind of faking that stain look by using paint. This is a really easy look to achieve and doesn't take a lot of skill or technique. You just want to work in those small sections so your paint's not sitting on there too long for an even finish. Your rags will get gunked up, and you will need to switch out and get a new rag every now and then once it's all loaded up with paint. And once I was done, I loved the way that it looked. It was like that raw kind of natural wood, and so I decided not to seal it. I'm gonna see how that holds up. If that terrifies you, you could definitely seal it with a top coat or a wax or something like that. I would just recommend using a water-based one so that you don't get any yellowing of your wood. And that's it. I can't believe we built a bed from scratch in like 2 days. So here is the big reveal. I can't believe that we made this bed. It is just beautiful. My daughter loves it. And of course, I had a lot of fun completing this with my husband. So update on this bed build 2 years later, it still looks great. The room is not staged as well as it was in the original video, but this is real life, you guys. The build has held up super well, and the stain has held up well too, and I did not seal it or anything, and it has stayed in great shape. So I would definitely recommend the build, and I definitely would recommend the stain treatment that we did on it. So I hope you guys get a chance to try this out. Thanks for joining me and taking a look back at a previous project. If you liked this video, please let me know down in the comments. I will be back next week with another video. Thanks for being here, you guys, and I will see you next time.